The knights charge toward Vlad at breakneck speed. Vlad watches them coolly, waiting on his horse with a menacing aura. Feeling the sudden, crushing pressure, the charging horses halt abruptly, trembling in fear. As they release their overwhelming power, Vlad menacingly demands to know who is there, ordering them to identify themselves. One of the hooded figures, who appears to be their leader, steps forward. He notes that Vlad has finally gained some presence, having grown a lot and become completely different from before. Surprised, Vlad asks if the man knows him. When the knight reaches for his jacket, Vlad instinctively grips his sword. The mercenaries immediately follow suit, taking up defensive stances, ready to strike at any second. But the hooded knight simply pulls out a letter, telling them not to be nervous since he comes from Sora. Vlad is taken aback. As the knight pulls back his hood, Vlad reveals a face covered in scars. Vlad recognizes him, realizing that he is the man he saw after the sacred duel in Dharma, Bayezid's hidden sword. Unfolding the letter, the scarred knight begins to read, addressing Vlad as Knight Vlad, the noble blood of the North, and commanding him to receive the order of Joseph Bayezid. Vlad immediately drops to his knees, declaring that as a knight of Bayezid, he will receive the order. Stefan quickly follows suit. His men are momentarily surprised, but Stefan barks at them to shut up and kneel, "You bastards." Thus, everyone drops to one knee. Bayezid's hidden sword continues reading the letter, declaring that Knight Vlad is to head to Dharma from this moment on, and until further special instructions are given, he is commanded to act as Lady Alicia's knight. The scene shifts to Dharma, specifically to the tree harboring the sleeping spirit of the white snake. Suddenly, the spirit opens its eyes and turns its head toward a certain direction, likely Vlad's. Sensing his energy shining brighter than ever through its special eye, the spirit is overjoyed, celebrating, and beginning to sing. Meanwhile, inside the estate, Alicia is in her office looking far from happy. She mutters that she knew it would ultimately turn out like this. Her knight, Duncan, asks if that is not exactly why she has been preparing all this time. With dark circles under her eyes from sleepless nights, she sighs, questioning if this can even be called preparation, reminding him that he knows this much is nowhere near enough. She points out that the forces they managed to scrape together number a mere 700 men, whereas Count Gator's forces are approaching 3,000. No matter how well they mount a siege defense, they will not be able to hold out for long. She adds that because of the Dragon Killer Knights, the northern families are not in a comfortable position either. She then asks about the status of the mercenaries. Duncan admits that he has met with several well-known mercenary captains, but they seem highly reluctant to stand on their side. Despondent, Alicia sighs that she expected as much, knowing it is because their opponent is none other than Gator, the conqueror of the West. Duncan tries to reassure her, stating that it is still too early to despair. While support from the Iron Duke might be difficult due to the Dragon Killer Knights, they still have an ally in Bayezid. Attempting to lift her spirits, he tells her there is still time, promising that he will somehow try to gather up to 1,000 troops. Just then, a subordinate arrives to announce that the Baroness has guests. Startled, she asks who they are, and the subordinate reveals they are from Bayezid. Surprised and excited, she commands him to bring them in at once, and the guard rushes off to fetch them. Duncan remarks that it seems Sir Joseph is also keeping a close eye on this situation. Alicia agrees, expressing relief that they can finally breathe a little. With a hopeful smile, she thinks to herself that if they came from Bayezid, it must be Vlad. She immediately whirls around to Duncan, frantically demanding a mirror. Confused at first, Duncan hesitates, but she insists, telling him to hurry. He rushes off and quickly returns with a mirror. Gazing at her reflection, she asks how she looks, worrying if she appears too haggard. Duncan reassures her that she looks fine, but she complains that they cannot just show up so suddenly without warning, arguing they should have notified them in advance via carrier pigeon or telegram. Duncan chuckles, noting that it is a relief to see her energetic again. Alicia agrees, resolving to cheer up now that reliable reinforcements have arrived. Smiling to herself, she reflects on how it has always been like this. In her hardest moments, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, he appears. The guests finally arrive. She turns around, looking radiant, thinking to herself that he actually came to her. But to her dismay, it is not Vlad who enters, but Vorden. Bowing, Vorden greets her, saying it has been a while. Alicia's joyful expression instantly collapses into pure disappointment as she mutters, "What the?" leaving Vorden to awkwardly stammer his own name in confusion. The scene shifts back to Vlad as he travels with the others. Vlad asks the knight what he should call him, wondering if Senior is appropriate. Bayezid's hidden sword explains that using Senior is a bit problematic since it would be best to pretend they do not know each other. After a moment of thought, He suggests that using a normal name would be better. When Vlad asks what his name is, the knight ponders for a moment before deciding on Marcus, telling Vlad to call him Marcus from now on. Vlad points out that he probably was not Marcus until just a second ago. Marcus retorts that coming up with a name is the hardest part, and this one is actually pretty good. Looking back at the mercenaries, he notes that while they were short on manpower, Vlad managed to bring a decent group along. Vlad offers to provide the funding to hire them officially, praising them as highly skilled fighters with an excellent mission completion rate. Marcus agrees, recalling the old saying that a knight is honor, while a mercenary is trust, concluding that if they are the Thorn Tree mercenaries, it is indeed a solid choice. Vlad repeats the word trust to himself, realizing that, come to think of it, they have never run away even once. Suddenly, a bird flies overhead. Vlad wonders to himself if it is a crow. Marcus tells him it is time for them to part ways, instructing him to go straight to Dharma as Lady Alicia's knight. Vlad bids him farewell, wishing him luck. Marcus replies that he hopes Vlad fulfills his duty as well before galloping away at full speed, thinking to himself that he must do so before the crumbling sky of the Empire crashes down upon her. Stefan is caught off guard by the unexpectedly warm welcome Vlad receives. Soldiers wait for him as if he were their savior, greeting him enthusiastically as Lord Vlad. Stunned, Stefan stammers that he failed to recognize Vlad's greatness before, admitting that he is truly a famous knight in the north. Vlad casually brushes it off, saying it is not that big of a deal. But the townspeople chime in, gasping in excitement as they spot Lord Vlad. They cheer, welcoming him back and declare what a deep honor it is to see him again. Hearing the roar of the crowd, Stefan points out that no matter how he looks at it, Vlad seems remarkably famous. Vlad simply tells him to shut up. One of Stefan's subordinates remarks in awe that it feels as though a victorious general is returning home. Another agrees, noting that this is the first time in his life he has ever received such a grand welcome. Nearby children shout in amazement, recognizing him as the knight from the honorable duel. Other kids crowd around, begging Lord Vlad to teach them swordsmanship, eager to learn from him. Stefan smiles, remarking on how much the kids adore Sir Knight. Vlad mutters that it was never quite like this before. Reflecting on his own journey, Stefan explains that he has wandered through many places while living by the sword. Yet, this is the first time he has witnessed such a genuine welcome. He admits that settling down somewhere like this after retirement might not be a bad idea. Vlad responds with sarcastic disbelief, pointing out that Stefan is already talking about retirement right after signing his contract. Stefan chuckles, stating that it only shows how great his impression of the place is, adding that he looks forward to working with his new employer. Vlad warns him to laugh while he still can, revealing that something terrible happens every single time he sets foot here. The men freeze in utter shock. Vlad pauses to reflect, wondering aloud if perhaps it is the other way around. If he simply happens to arrive whenever something terrible occurs. Stefan tries to brush it off, reassuring himself that it surely will not happen this time. Vlad stays completely silent, leaving no doubt that trouble has always followed him. Desperate for reassurance, Stefan anxiously begs for confirmation that nothing bad will happen. The scene shifts to Alicia, who stammers in disbelief at the figure of 5,000. Vorden confirms the number, addressing her as Baron. Still shaken, Alicia points out that the telegram he sent clearly stated 3,000, adding that Gator's banner families are advancing along with them. She remarks that this sheer overwhelming power is precisely what makes lords known as rulers so terrifying. Alicia presses him, asking what Bayezid plans to do. Vorden replies that 500 reinforcements are currently on their way. Disappointed, Alicia repeats the number 500. Thinking to herself that 500 soldiers are nowhere near enough against an army of 5,000. Calmly sipping his tea, Vorden reassures her that there is no need to worry. Those 500 represent merely the advanced force, as a full mobilization order has already been issued in Sora, pulling troops even from the north. He explains that Dharma is not large enough to house thousands of soldiers at once. So, the Count plans to deploy the available forces flexibly. Surprised, Alicia asks about bringing troops from the north, questioning what will happen regarding the barbarians beyond the northern border. Vorden assures her once more that there is no cause for concern, explaining that an agreement was struck with a powerful tribe in the northwest who will provide support during this conflict. Duncan, stunned by this revelation, thinks to himself how terrifyingly thorough Joseph Bayezid is, wondering just how far ahead he saw and prepared. Setting down his teacup, Vorden adds that there is no need to worry about the Dragon Slayer Knights either, as they have already negotiated with the Steel Duke. The two pillars of the north, Baronoff and Bayezid, will commit their full strength to this cause. Impressed, Alicia admits she had no idea such extensive preparations were made, asking if all they need to do now is hold out. Bourne agrees, hinting that Lord Joseph has prepared several other contingencies as well. A knock at the door interrupts him, and a soldier enters to announce that the guest has arrived. Borden notes that the advance force seems to have come quickly, urging Alicia to trust in Bayezid's sincerity. He begins to explain that the person leading these 500 reinforcements is Joseph Bayezid's representative. But before he can finish his sentence, Vlad steps forward, bowing respectfully. Vlad greets Lady Alicia, noting that it has been a long time. Though initially taken aback, Alicia's expression softens into a warm smile as she playfully tells him he is a little late, offering him a proper greeting and welcoming Sir Vlad back. The scene shifts to a quiet village where a blood-stained family portrait lies ruined. The blood comes from a towering man wielding a massive sword, standing over the lifeless bodies of several men and holding the severed head of one of them. He walks toward a door flanked by his knights, pushes it open, and finds an elderly man sitting by the fireplace. The very same man depicted in the family portrait. The killer demands to know where the girl is, warning that he already knows everything and urging him not to make things difficult. The old man gazes at him, claiming he has no idea what he is talking about. With a cruel grin, the knight tosses the severed head right at his feet, causing the old man's eyes to widen in horror. The knight sneers that his son said the same thing, advising the old man to think carefully before his entire family meets the same fate. He reminds him that he is retired now, asking why he would remain loyal to a fallen house. After a heavy silence, the elderly man suddenly begins to laugh despite staring at his son's head. He remarks that he must have lived far too long to witness such a pathetic fool acting so arrogantly. He mocks the knight, stating that looking like a noble aristocrat means nothing when his speech and behavior remain utterly vulgar. He calls him a brat, declaring that no matter what he promises, his words hold no weight, as that is the price a vile usurper must pay. Enraged, the knight bristles. But the old man continues, explaining that in the West, survival meant taking from others. He adds that being mere usurpers would have been preferable, but becoming the dogs of a dragon is unforgivable, asking who could ever trust those who wag their tails for an ancient beast. Furious, the knight warns the old man, promising to grant him a painless death if he reveals where the child of Ravnoma went. The old man chuckles, mocking him by saying that the brat cannot accomplish anything alone anyway, though he notes that the crow from the north seemed to think otherwise. Shocked, the knight curses to himself, realizing that the north might have already taken action. Looking up with a triumphant smile, the old man proclaims that their house will be remembered for all eternity, even as they fall to a usurer's treachery. They are a family that, for the sake of the pact, sends away the dragon's fragment before their own bloodline, declaring that the true ruler of the West is Ravnoma. Before he can finish, the enraged knight unleashes a powerful strike, decapitating the old man in a surge of fury. Staring at the lifeless body, the knight mutters that he knows all too well the derogatory names used against Gator throughout the West. Despicable usurpers, an empty shell without a pact. But he remains unfazed, declaring that if they are scorned for lacking honor, they will simply take it. And if they are ignored for having no history, they will seize it. That he asserts is the true law of the West. And it will become the legend of Gator as he vows to claim everything, right down to his own sword.